back. It's been a while. Nothing but the month of July, that's all. You know what I'm saying? Nothing happened. Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything for the month of July, y'all? Yeah, I probably did. How y'all doing? It's High Off the Glass. It's over the great. I am here. I am blessed. Today, y'all, I have a guest that I've wanted to have on my show for literally years. And I am blessed to have this sister here today. Just to let y'all know, there will be, it will be probably no basketball sports talk today, and it will be no marijuana minute. I will come with marijuana, this week's marijuana news, cannabis news. I will come with a video for that later in the day. But right now, I am joined by basically low-key a local legend and someone who has always fought for the people. Former state senator, U-City's own, graduated from
Clayton High School.
Clayton High School. An old friend of mine used to go to that school.
Really?
And yes. And you guys, he didn't finish. He finished somewhere else. So y'all probably not in the same year.
Okay.
But this young lady, during the Michael Brown killing years ago and the uprising thereafter, she was a prominent figure in protesting and getting legislation done so senseless killings of us black folks won't keep happening. And the sister's always been on the forefront. And like I said, former state senator for here in Missouri. Everybody give it up for Miss Maria Chappelle-Nadal.
Thank
How are you?
you. I'm good.
I am so pleased to have you here today. Like I said, I've been a fan of yours for a while. You are important, Miss Maria. What you do is excellent. You're embarking on a new path right about now because you're running for United States Representative District 1 for here in Missouri, and you are going against some prominent folks, and one especially, probably both, but one especially as in Mr. Wesley Bell that is has the wrong money behind him.
Well, I have to tell you that,
Yes,
I was not impressed when he decided to sign up for this seat because he hasn't been able to fulfill his obligations as a prosecutor.
Preach,
And
preach.
even before he was a prosecutor, the most injurious case that I have read is when he worked for Riverview.
Mm-hmm.
And this incident that happened in about 2016, there are two young ladies who were being preyed upon by two police officers. One was thrown to the ground. She had a minor concussion. When they went to the police station, one of the police officers molested one of the young ladies. And then Wesley Bell was responsible for bringing up these trumped up charges against the ladies who were merely walking home
What?
from a night with their family. And then it gets worse. Wesley Bell intentionally got rid of the evidence. So this is post-Ferguson, right?
For the officers that committed those
Yes.
crimes. Wow.
He intentionally got rid of all of the video. And so this is post-Ferguson. This is after 2014 when we're talking about, what is restorative justice, stop ticketing people, stop charging people
Right.
who have not committed any crimes. And lo and behold, in 2016, he is one of the culprits who infringe upon the civil rights of two young ladies who ended up suing Riverview, and the case started in state court, then went to federal court. But when you look at all of the details of the case, you're like, why is this person even running for office?
Right.
And why are people like not wanting to know about how he has violated women? And that's just a beginning when you talk about Wesley Bell. But Wesley also, he has a big problem with women. Not only is he sleeping with his staff members, which is reported in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
That's not professional.
It's not professional.
Yeah.
But he's had so many sex discrimination cases. It's
Wow.
ridiculous. And he has one right now. Now, it was going to be heard during this summer.
Okay.
But the attorney's wife passed away, so it's going to be heard in January of 2020. 2025. And your listeners have to figure out, do you actually want to vote for someone who has a sex discrimination case against them?
Preach.
And oh, by the way, this is not the first one, it's not the second one,
Preach.
and it's not the third one.
Jeez. Okay. Before we go down that path of deception and deceit by Bell, I want to bring it. And what did he do for Riverview when he was there?
He was a prosecuting attorney for
wow.
Riverview.
And that's why he was able to get rid of everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we jump into that lowbrow person, I want to know more about Maria Chappelle-Nadal. You're not related to Dave, are you?
I am. We're third cousins.
Stop playing!
Yes.
I thought something like that.
We're third
That's
cousins.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. For real, third cousins.
So
okay.
our grandfathers are half brothers.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
And so when he came, actually he came during the Ferguson Uprising.
Oh, yes.
And
At the pageant. I went to that show.
Well,
ma'am.
he had like 8 or 9 shows.
Oh, okay.
And so I was a guest of his, and I really just wanted to finally meet him and talk to him.
Right.
And we were able to do that, and we started comparing pictures. And my goodness, he looks so much like my father
That is
on
amazing.
the top part of his head.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's the same with when you have far removed cousins and you see a similarity somehow, somewhere.
Right.
But no,
That is awesome.
yeah, it was really a pleasure to meet him, and I'm glad that he spent so much time in St. Louis during
did.
the Ferguson Uprising.
He did. I remember going to that show and him talking to us. And he said, I know it's scary out here for black folks, and I know it's scary out here for y'all. And I was in the balcony, and I was kind of, okay, so if you're facing the stage, I'm in the top right of the balcony. Had a friend of mine with me that went to Clayton. And I guess he may have been embarrassed by what I said, but I was like, you damn right it is. I said that loud as hell. And when he would give a call to the audience to speak to the audience, I would say something back. That's me. And plus, I've been down with that man since Def Comedy Jam. Yeah. So in Comic View, so I've been with Chappelle before he blew up. So I mean that is my guy. So for him to spend that time here, I was super excited about that. Okay, so you're born and raised in University City.
Yes.
Okay, parents, what did they do?
Well, my mom was a business owner for over 30 years.
Nice, where?
And she had her own business. It was called Productive Futures.
Okay.
And what it did was really get people who are underemployed into the private sector. And she had been one of the premier individuals, businesses throughout the state that was for profit, that was able to get a lot of underemployed and unemployed people into the private sector, and was recognized by 2 governors for the tremendous work that she did. My father worked in the St. Louis Housing Authority for many, many years. If you go down, I want to say 14th Street, you'll find a building that's named after my father, Al Chappelle. So he was a civil rights activist, and he and my mother met through activism, and I am their product.
I see. I see. Yeah, you come from the stock of it's not about us. It's not about just us individually. It's about us as a whole. We're here to help people.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
There are a lot of people when I ran for office and when I was in Ferguson, because I was a state senator at the time when I was when the Ferguson Uprising was going on, and people would say to me, "You remind me so much of your father," and it meant a lot to hear that because my father was the type of person who would take off his shirt, he'd give you his last $5 in his pocket, he'd let you use his car, and he really was a person who gave of himself, and he was also my mentor. Right. And so when it came to politics, which was a natural inclination for me, I would give him a scenario, and then he would give me a rundown of what this means, what that person said, what that means, this is what you should do. So I'm always strategizing in my mind because that's the skill set that my father had.
That is amazing. Props to him. I love that. Where siblings? Any siblings?
No. No, I actually do have a couple of half siblings.
Okay.
But and they're in St. Louis.
Okay. Okay. Great. All right. So, how was it? Seemed now you can't judge a book by its cover, but listening to you, talking to you, and knowing some of your story and what you've already done here, I feel like you were like a standout in school. Was school easy for you? Like, what was the deal?
I was an overachiever.
Okay.
And
Yep,
so,
yep.
yeah, I was an overachiever. So by
Right.
the time in Clayton, by the time I made it to 12th grade, I only had to take 2 classes because I took extra classes.
Yep, you knocked it out.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just didn't know that I was knocking it out.
Yeah.
But because of that,
Right.
I do admit that there were probably a few parties at my house in the afternoon on a school day.
Nice. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Yeah, because here's the thing. You can't just, I feel for those individuals who are just books, and have no street smarts at all. Like, you have to have both.
Oh,
If you want
absolutely.
to survive in this world, you have to know how to interact with a book and a person.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do both.
Exactly. And I think because my father was so close to what was happening in the real world,
Right.
especially when it came to public housing, it gave me a different light. But the same thing for my mother and her
Right.
business.
Okay.
I mean, when I was calling her when I was in college and telling her, oh my goodness, this happened, that happened, and she would just quickly say in about 60 seconds, look, I have a woman who has 6 kids who just came in. She doesn't have this. She doesn't have this. You need to be thankful for the blessings that you have.
Right. Right.
And she would
Handle
she would just go down, well, this is what came into my office today.
Yes, ma'am.
And what are you crying about?
Right.
Go do your job and put your big girl pants on.
Now, when she would say that, would that ever make you give you pause and be like, okay, you're right, but then would the selfishness be like, but no, what about me, Mom?
No, I paused.
Okay.
I paused.
Okay.
Because, and I still do now.
Right.
Because I realize no matter what I may personally be going through, there's always people who are going through so much more. And so that's why I'm empathetic. And that's why I'm so sensitive when it comes to people who are facing challenges in their life. I want to be there for them the best way that I can using my skill sets.
Yes, ma'am.
So as someone who has an analytical mind, someone who is empowered by their voice,
Right.
And my boyfriend and I always we always compare notes in terms of which one of us is more shy. And so he wins, but I'm actually a shy person. But when it comes to justice issues,
Right.
it's like you're not going to hear enough from me. You're going to hear me like forever, and you're
Nice.
going to be so tired of hearing
Right.
from me, and
Right.
that's just how I am. And
Right.
and that's how a couple of other mentors of mine were. Betty Thompson, she was like that.
Who's that?
Betty Thompson was a state representative in University City,
Okay.
and then former Senator Mary Bland from
Okay.
Kansas City.
Okay.
And let me tell you, these black women just kept going. They
Nice.
wouldn't stop.
Nice.
Like if they saw something wrong,
Right.
they would be addressing it and then keep reminding, like you
That's
would
why
hear
y'all
the
the best.
same question
doubt.
again and again, and you would be like, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Because
Ju-
I don't
just
want
to
to hear your
shut them
mouth,
up.
and it would just shut.
There it is.
And that's what it is. It's just like, and that's how I am. It's like,
Right.
I'm going to stay. And that's why I'm running, because Wesley
Yeah.
is a pitiful excuse of a human being and a public service.
He is.
And
He is.
so, he could say, I'm after him because he still hasn't responded to my phone calls and letters that I sent him in 2020,
I believe it.
where I was trying to help a mother, Melissa McKinney's,
Okay.
whose son was found hung. They
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
know if it was a suicide or if it was a homicide. And so I was just she asked me, Maria, can you please connect us to Wesley Bell so we could do an investigation?
Right.
And I sent him a certified letter. I called his office. So I'm still bickering from 4 years ago.
And never got a
Be-
response.
Wesley Bell never gave me a call back. In 20 years of public service, Wesley Bell never called me back. And let me tell you something. As much as people talk about Lacey Clay, the one thing that his office always did,
They reached out.
they responded to constituency issues.
There you go.
Constituency services is 50% of the job.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Preach.
it's just
Preach.
they may not even vote for you.
Preach.
You know, but they are so thankful. They're trying to get their disability, or they're trying to get, you know, all these different services, and they just need the connectivity. Or 100-year-old tree fell in their house,
Right.
or their trash wasn't picked up.
Right.
All it is responding and connecting them,
Yes, ma'am.
or talking to the entities that you need to,
Yep.
and they love you forever. You know what I'm saying? So
It's just basic civil needs.
It's the job
Basic.
that you sign up for.
Pretty much, yes,
It's
ma'am.
the job you sign up for.
Yes,
And the
ma'am.
other thing in this race is, you know, none of them. Wesley's playing the game right now, but
Hold on, before
really,
we go back in the race, because
okay.
we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into it. I
Okay.
want to know more about you. And
Check.
before you said what?
check.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Because we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
But before moving forward, I should have said this earlier. We are powered by STL Cannabis Club in the Cola Lounge over on Cherokee. Make sure you guys check them out. STL Cannabis Club, owned by Brennan England, and is amazing. Group of individuals. This club here, it's for, now that it's legal, you know, you should have no trepidation. But before, when it was illegal, and we just had a little bit here and a little bit there, this club was still there for us cannabis smokers, and the Cola Lounge was there for people who wanted to gather and enjoy their plant and not have to worry about persecution from whatever. So that lounge is open. Make sure you guys check that out. And they're having an awesome event today, Cannabis and Cars. Go to Elite Homegrow Academy and STL Cannabis Club. Go to their IG pages, and you will find out where that is. That is today at 3 o'clock. So, grade school for you. Public or private?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Why both?
So it's the decision that my mother made. So,
Elementary school, I meant.
Elementary school. Well, I went to a few.
Okay.
I went to Forsyth and Clayton.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Well, you city kid, y'all did a light and Clayton.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's one of the benefits of living in University City.
Right.
So,
You get access?
yeah.
Oh.
Well, you had to pay for it though.
Yeah.
So, and then I went to Flynn Park in University City. So
Okay.
I went from Forsyth to Flynn Park in University City, and then I went to the middle school, which was Brittany Woods, and had a great time there. And then my mom was like, you know, I want you to go to a different school. So I actually was part of DSAG for a year. Or, well, actually more than that. I went to a private school for a year.
Okay.
And then I got into DSAG. So I
Okay.
went to Crossroads
Oh,
College
wow.
Prep.
Okay.
As I was trying to get into the DSAG program so I could go to Clayton.
Okay, now when did you graduate high school?
94.
94.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow, they still had DSEG that far. Okay, because I'm trying to I'm 97, so
Mm-hmm.
that's how I gauge your age. Okay, so you graduate from Clayton. Where do you go from there?
I went to Georgia State University. I double majored in
Georgia
political
State.
science,
Okay.
sociology.
There you go.
Um,
Congratulations.
I loved it, and I wanted to be in a place where there were black elected officials, you know, obviously,
Right.
because we didn't have too much of that. And I have to say that my training, my education at Clayton High School was so diverse, you know, inspired me. And for the summer, in fact, after 11th grade, I was taking this AP History, AP English course combined, and I was so inspired by what I was learning. I went to Barnard College in New York for the summer for
wow.
a pre-college program,
Nice.
and that's where I met some of my best friends that are still my best friends today.
Damn right. East
And
Coast.
yeah, totally East Coast. Learned a lot.
Right.
The only problem I ever had was we went to this restaurant as students, and this restaurant was known for its pancakes, these huge pancakes, and I got a Greek salad. Like, I will never.
At a pancake place?
Yes, I had a Greek salad.
Oh,
Don't
Maria.
ask
What
me
borough
why I
was
did-
you in?
What
What was it?
I think I was in Soho, something like
in
that.
Soho, Manhattan?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Greek
Yeah,
salad.
I got a Greek salad at a renowned restaurant known for pancakes.
How'd that go over?
I'm still mad.
Wow. At
I mean,
yourself?
that's
or-
30-something years.
Right. she ain't get the pancakes. I get it. That is hilarious. So you were up there for a summer?
I was there for a summer. In fact, I will tell you, it was 93, the summer of 93,
bet.
when we had the flood, because everybody was like,
Oh.
how's your home?
Right.
You know, and that actually, little did I know that flooding would become so much it would become a great part of my service, dealing with radioactive waste, the migration of soil,
Coldwater Creek,
the migration of contaminants, you know, and I'm not talking just about radioactive waste. I'm talking about dioxin and PCBs, all of those things, and that's really, you know, one of the legacies that I will always have, and it's still near and dear to me, and I want to continue in my work on that as I have during COVID. I wrote a syllabus about radioactive waste.
Wow.
It took me 2 years to do it.
Wow.
But I wanted to help educate people who want to know more about radioactive waste, and also their responsibilities when it comes to advocacy and making sure government stays accountable to the health and welfare of residents and employees.
Yes, ma'am. For those of you that are listening and you have any questions for Ms. Nadal, please call in 515-599-1687, 515-599-1687. This young woman is running for U.S. Representative for the state of Missouri, District 1. You all need to call in with your questions, 515-599-1687. And I remember that flood. I wasn't living here. I'm from Massachusetts, so I was out there. We had the blizzard of 93. You all had the flood of 93. It was crazy. The
global warming.
Exactly. It was kicking our ass. and the scientists knew it, but the government, like now, it wasn't doing enough. But okay, so you go to Georgia, and I'm thinking Georgia Tech. I'm surprised not Georgia State, but
I was Georgia State.
Oh, okay.
Right there, right across from the Capitol.
Okay, and Georgia State, now, because I know these schools by their what's their is it not the Bulldog? No, the Bulldog is just Georgia.
No, that's Georgia.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy, I can't remember what that thing is. It's blue. It's white and blue.
That works. That's good enough.
It's white and blue though. Panthers. It's Panthers.
Oh, it's the Panthers.
Yes.
Okay, that's what's up. They need to get their their athletic program together. I know them. All right.
They just got football after I left.
They just got it?
They got football. I went to a game like probably 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. And you graduated when?
I took the 5-year route.
You took the 5-year route. Bet. So you left there in...
What did I? 99.
99. Okay, so 99. You have your degree. You have this sense of empathy that you have towards people. You have this. There's a problem. It needs to be solved. I'm usually reserved, but I'm not reserved when it's something that needs to be taken care of. Where do you go from there?
Well, in 2000, I started working for the coordinated campaign for the Missouri Democratic Party.
Ooh, okay.
And it was Gore Lieberman.
Ah, yes.
And and then I started working for the former lieutenant governor.
Rest in peace, Joe. Joe Lieberman just passed away not too long ago, too. So rest in peace,
absolutely. And I still have his signature. I had a picture of him, and he signed it during that campaign. Right on.
Should have won.
He was like one of the people who I looked up to. And who I have modeled myself after.
Lieberman was?
Yes, wow. Lieberman.
Why so? How so?
Because he was an independent, and he had his own thoughts, based on like the research that he did, what he knew, what was important to the people that he was representing. And I always followed his example.
Right.
And that's why people, when I was in the legislature, they were like, she's so dangerous, you never know which way she's coming from. Well, it's actually a benefit, because when you don't have, when people don't fear you, you get nothing done. And that's just how it happens, right? And so I've had to deal with all types of people in the legislature, and I just know, as long as I know what I'm doing, people are going to listen. And that's what happened when I was in the Senate and in the House. Like, I got things done because I knew what I was talking about. And that's another reason why I'm running. Wesley doesn't even know how to do a budget.
Right. Exactly.
And I really don't think that Corey knows how to legislate either, in my opinion.
Right.
And so it just takes so much information gathering, and the ability to articulate every single thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And you only get benefits. You only get legislation signed when people recognize that you know what the heck you're talking about.
Preach. Yes,
and that's
ma'am.
not what's been happening. And especially because St. Louis is at a crucial point. We need more investment. We need more industry. We need to deal with housing. I mean, I'm sure people have gone to North City and North County recently and seen all the vacant buildings
It's been
and
there.
squatters.
It's been there.
I mean, we've got to do something about it. And I think one of the reasons why we had such a huge population, between the 50s and the 90s is because we had industry. Industry decided to leave.
Yes, ma'am. And that's the sad part. 100%. I mean, St. Louis was right up there with Detroit and Chicago. And then, once you let the industries leave, people can't earn. They leave with it. So.
And here's another problem that we're dealing with is generational wealth.
Right.
I mean, when you look at these beautiful brick homes in North City, in the Central Corridor, and if you just picked up those buildings and took them to Clayton, they'll be $4 million, right?
Oh, God, yes.
So because of the lack of generational wealth, the understanding of how do you upkeep a building, how do you keep a building in your family, how do you profit off of a multifamily unit or a multifamily household, because we have not had that training.
Right.
A lot of people have moved, they've gotten rid of their homes are out of code.
Right.
And, as a congressperson, it is my job to not only work with HUD to reestablish some of these neighborhoods in historical neighborhoods, like where Red Fox was.
Oh.
And you look at that neighborhood and I'm like, it's right by the Veterans Hospital. When you look at St. Louis Avenue in the 12th Ward, you're like, what happened? There's so many people who are living in a housing unit, and you have 3 or 4 generations of people in one household, and it's only 2 bedrooms, right? So if we had the revenue and the investment from not only the federal government but state government and otherwise, that section of St. Louis Avenue that just is so near and dear to my heart, I want to see some of the unhoused in a rehab.
There you go.
On that block,
Right.
Or in those blocks on St. Louis Avenue. I would like to have our veterans have a one-stop shop within a neighborhood.
Right.
How awesome would it be instead of, having 15 people in your household and you're not getting the care that you need, you get to be a few blocks away from the Veterans Hospital and in a community where there's a restaurant and the 12th Ward office and then a grocery store. I mean, people like seeing other people.
Right.
And we've got to deal with this unhoused situation. We've got to make our now, I will tell you, under President Biden, veterans have been treated incredibly good.
They have. It started with Obama. Yes,
it's
ma'am.
been so much better. The
It has.
service has been so much better.
It is.
And they tell me about it.
I'm a testament to that.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, it was so much easier during the Obama administration to go to a VA clinic or go to a satellite and get what you needed, as opposed to before when you had to go through so much paperwork and this and that. He cut through a lot of that red tape.
Oh my goodness, and they should be treated well.
Exactly.
Our veterans need to be treated well.
Preach.
I just think about people who've lived in my neighborhood and people who I've served. Even my own great uncle, who's a veteran,
Yes, ma'am.
and he's in the winter of his life,
Right.
and he counts every single day as a blessing.
Praise.
But it's because of his Veterans Hospital that he's still joking on the WhatsApp. with
Right.
me.
He goes to Cochran, or is he South County?
No, he's in Puerto Rico.
He's in Puerto Rico.
Half
Oh.
of my family is in Puerto Rico.
They're smart. No winner. There you go.
No, but you have hurricanes, and
That's
they're pretty
true.
serious.
Yeah.
And I've been there for a few hurricanes.
Right.
And I think one of the worst ones was when I was about 12 years old, Hurricane Hugo. And if it was not for the El Yunque Mountains, the rest of the island would have been devastated.
Oh God,
so,
yes. I remember when what is it? Fat Joe was talking about that, and Dump, for a photo, I went down there and was throwing paper towels. That last.
Oh yeah, that was Hurricane Maria in 2017.
That was disgraceful for me, but I totally understand that. Okay, I want to talk about some of the stuff right now, but I got to ask you that. I got to go back a little bit. So when you started doing your work for the Democratic Party, I'm assuming before then you had a buzz for politics.
Yes.
When did you when did you actually? Well, when did you first get that politics is what I want to do? When did you?
It goes back to high school.
High school.
At Clayton High School.
Okay.
It is the place in that class I told you about.
Right.
At Clayton High School, I'm learning all about Black history, right?
Right.
So I wanted to know more about Zora Neale Hurston. I wanted to know more about Langston Hughes.
Clayton used to take.
Yes.
I wonder if they hope they still do.
I mean,
wow.
we still read Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
But yes.
Go ahead, Clayton. Okay.
Yes. And so that's what motivated. I told my mom, I want to go to New York, and I went to Barnard where Zora Neale Hurston went.
Right.
Where Langston Hughes was. I wanted to I guess relive in my own way the Black Renaissance, and as a high schooler, and that's what I did.
That's dope.
And that is what inspired me. And I came home. I knew when I was in high school, I couldn't articulate that I wanted to be in government, but the way that I articulated is I want to help educate people on issues, and especially I want to help educate people of color on issues. Wow. I didn't know that would be you're running for office. That's what it evolved to.
Right.
And in college, I still have my notebooks where I want to educate people on this, and I want to educate people on that.
Go ahead, girl.
And I still have those notebooks.
That's so cool.
In any case, that inspired me. And then
what was, I don't mean to interrupt, but what was the first thing that you did once you did the work for the Democratic Party? What was the first thing that you did what was the first office you ran for?
State representative.
Okay.
But let me tell you a story.
Okay, please do.
My father, because he was a political animal, so was his father, my grandfather.
Nice.
He was like, go up to the person before the election that you have the most respect for, like the statewide candidates, and tell them that you'd like to work with them. So I did that. We were at O'Fallon Park, and Senator Carter was still alive. This was the Gore Lieberman race.
Okay.
And so I went up to Joe Maxwell, and he had been to several events that I had, and he said, listen, you send your resume. Don't tell people that you sent your resume because you don't know how dirty politics is. And I'll call you at some point in time, right? I did that. I waited. My mom was like, you need to get a job because the election was over. She was like, you need to get a job.
Right.
And so he called me. It was the end of November. I went to...
What year was it?
This is 2000.
Okay.
And I went to interview,
Okay.
And I was hired, started in December of 2000.
Nice. There you go. And working for Senator Carter?
No, working for the former Lieutenant Governor Joe Maxwell.
Joe Maxwell.
And Senator Carter was a senator.
Wow. Okay. And how did that go? What did you learn from that?
Oh, my goodness. The legislative process, the gamesmanship it takes.
Right.
He was... When you're the lieutenant governor, you are in the legislative branch and the executive branch simultaneously, which means that you're the president of the Senate. And so
Did you have to go to Jeff City?
Yeah, I lived in Jeff City.
Wow.
Came home every single weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, put lots and lots of miles on.
No doubt.
Lots and lots. 20 years I made that trip.
Wow.
I
Go ahead,
did.
sister.
20 years.
Yeah, props for that alone.
Yeah. You had to keep water in your car.
Yes, you did.
I prayed at every mile marker.
Right.
Yeah, all those years. But I learned the administrative side to things. So, in college, we obviously had to take administrative law, understood that, and I was actually doing that.
Right.
Changing policy involving housing, changing policy from the administrative executive side on nursing homes, for example. That was like a big accomplishment that we had when I worked for Lieutenant Governor. There were 4 women in University City who were at a nursing home, and they failed to turn on the air conditioning, and they died. These 4 women died.
Oh, dear God.
There was a multi-series spread in the Post-Dispatch about these 4 women at this nursing home, and that's how we were able to finally pass the Senior Care and Protection Act.
Wow. Off of those women
because of those women who died.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that they had to give their lives, but I'm so happy that you all were able to get that passed, and that meant what now for nursing homes?
Well, more accountability,
Okay.
safer conditions for people. And as a senator, I will tell you that I demanded updates from the Department of Senior Services for every single nursing home. I would visit every single nursing home, and I would read to the seniors. I would do my walk around. They would send me cards and thank you notes for coming to visit, but I would be there on the ground, and I would also receive information from the state. And if there was a problem that the state identified, I personally would follow up with that nursing home. And I've had some of the best relationships with some of the owners at nursing homes just because I invested time.
There you go. There you go.
With their folks.
Because you're empathetic. There it is.
And it's unfortunately, we're dealing with a couple of show horses in this race, and the job is messy.
It is.
You get your hands dirty. Your makeup not. I remember debating, and for my debates in the Senate, I would always study.
Right.
So for my first longest debate,
smart.
It's 10 hours and 45 minutes of a filibuster, which I studied for 6 weeks.
10 hours?
10 hours and 45 minutes.
To do a filibuster in
my
Jeff City?
filibuster. That was my first filibuster.
Jeez.
10 hours and 45 minutes.
You had to hold it for that 10 hours.
I held it. Now, when it was hard, and you can't sit.
What you mean?
Can't sit. No breaks. You can't sit. So when I finally finished that first filibuster, I was walking side to side like I didn't move for 15 days, and spent a lot of time on my favorite area.
Which is on your butt. There you go, sitting down. But wait, explain to me, because for those for the High Off the Glass viewers and listeners, and we're vaguely familiar. I'm vaguely familiar with how a filibuster works. You usually see it in in the U.S. Senate in D.C. a lot, but you don't hear about it. At least you haven't anymore on the state local level. You literally have to talk and stand up and be at a podium for your point for 10 whole hours.
You don't have to be for 10 whole hours, but you can't sit.
You can't sit. What if you use the restroom?
You can't. I had to hold my faculties. Yes.
Now, why is it set up like that? What is that?
Because if you care about an issue, you're willing to fight for it.
Right.
What I went through, I can't say that, but I went through a lot of conditioning for that 10-hour and 45-minute filibuster so that I would not need to use the bathroom.
Okay, so you talk for 45 minutes.
No, 10 hours and 45 minutes straight.
Jeez.
Yes.
Why is it set up? So is it set up like that to break you and be like, okay, I'm done with this issue? Someone else can have the floor?
Wait, let me just tell you something. I'm an African Puerto Rican woman, right?
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
The majority of the people who are in the legislature don't look like me.
Right.
They are white males.
Right.
If you are not able to prove yourself intellectually or otherwise, they're never going to take you seriously. That's why we're not getting anything in Congress right now.
Exactly.
It's because people want to know, if you're fighting for something, do you know how to explain the legislation it is that you're trying to get passed without notes?
Right, without,
I would have these human-sized Post-its, and I would gather in senators like 5, 6, 7 at a time and go through every element of a piece piece of legislation. And that's why I got so much passed, is because they were like, she knows what she's doing. I remember being, as a senator, when I had a piece of legislation going from the Senate to the House, I remember this long table, and it was all white males, all white males. I'm the only person of color, the only female in this office, and I am explaining in detail multiple aspects of a piece of legislation to get it passed. And they knew that I could do it. They knew I knew what I was talking about.
Right.
And that's what we need in Congress right now. We don't have it. And I can tell you, Wesley Bell doesn't even know how to do a budget. Because I was there. He didn't even know how to do a budget.
Right. My question is, why aren't you still state senator right now?
We have term limits.
Oh, so yeah, because you can only do it.
1993, I think, we passed a law. You can only do 8 years in the Senate, 8 years in the House.
Okay.
So I've done all that.
Okay. Now, let's move it forward. Let's talk about what you want to talk about. We'll talk about.
Let's talk about how Wesley Bell is a fraud.
He is. He clearly is. He kind of his haircut gives off Green Giant, but just not. That's his hairstyle.
Well, have you seen him with there's this event, a Republican event he went to with the George Bush. Now he's talking that he's a Democrat. He's been funding Republicans.
Right.
He's been working on Republicans' campaigns.
Right.
And so there's this picture of him at a Jim Talent George Bush fundraiser where he didn't have any of that hair. And I'm telling you, he looks better now than he did then. So congrats to him for looking better. But yeah, there's something about that.
I saw him recently. Some post he put up on social media talking about they're fired up, and he's at somebody's home. The people in the home, none of them look like us.
Oh, this was yesterday, actually.
He was the only person. You know what I'm talking about. He's the only person of color in the room. But besides that, I think it looked like his mother behind him, or some older sister was with him. It's just. You asked me. Okay,
that's who's funding him.
That's who's funding. Exactly. Before I get into him all the way, right? What I'm going to in my mind, but I know the answer. But I know there's some listeners are probably thinking, well, yeah, he isn't good. I'm going with Corey. Why not Corey, Miss Nadal?
Oh my goodness. I handed her the torch on environmental hazards, and she just has absolutely failed that mission. Yeah. And when I was specifically talking about a legislator who has to look at notes to speak on an issue, I'm talking about Corey. And so, like, we don't need anybody part of a clique. I was never part of a clique. And part of my caucus, yes, my Democratic caucus, but I would never be perceived as a clique, because my clique is called the 14th Senatorial District. My clique is called the 82nd or 86th Legislative District, and my clique is called the 1st Congressional District. You know, my clique is not the squad.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not. You can't. This is the biggest thing. You can't protest legislation. That's not how the legislative process works. Right. Either you're going to be a protester or you're going to be a legislator.
One of the two.
And that's what the St. Louis American was talking about. You can't protest legislation.
And she was doing it.
That's what she does. And I'm like, I held my tongue. I honestly held my tongue for years when it came to her. And it is, because she's another black woman, it is a little bit difficult for me to talk about her. But because I've been in government for so long, I couldn't hold my tongue anymore. And when Wesley got into the whole race, I said, there's no way that she's going to be able to handle him.
Right.
Because he has all this outside money coming into the state, willing to do absolutely anything. And she doesn't know. One thing, if you know how to debate, you should know how to campaign.
Right.
You know, and it's not a nice looking thing sometimes. You have to get your hands dirty.
You do.
And I don't think that she's able to do that. Like, you know, outside of talking about his family, you know, I can tell you exactly all the things he's done that has been a violation of taxpayer dollars. Every single last thing. You know, and then I could talk about her too, but hers is more legislative. It's just like, she didn't have the training, she didn't have the mentorship, and it's costing St. Louis, you know? And so I held my tongue for as long as I could.
Right. And okay, and so I got to ask it because it pops in, and there's going to be folks that say that. Then if you knew that, why didn't you say that back then when she was running?
I did. I
You
had
did.
some passive aggressive statements on my Twitter.
Okay.
You know, like
Okay.
you vote your district.
Mm.
Like rule number one,
Right.
vote your district. That's
Right.
kind of easy, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we have potholes,
Yep.
you vote for infrastructure. We
Right.
have a lot of underserved women and fathers who need child care. You vote for that.
Right.
We need to make sure that we have a good budget and we're not hitting the debt ceiling. You vote for the things.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
100. It's
It's
not
just kind of
hard.
easy.
Right. It's
You
what do
vote
you
your
see need,
district.
you vote for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm gonna say here personally, right? I was a fan of Corey's until January of this year. Also, I've okay. So January of this year, my union sent us to D.C. We were supposed to basically talk to different congressmen and women and see who we would back. The committee that I was in, CAP committee in my union, we basically it is exactly what we say it is. It's a lobby for. What is it for government officials? So if you have a government, government officials, sometimes you have to pay them to make them vote the way they should vote. So they send us up there to meet with these folks and who we should back, vocally and financially, with this, that, and the third. We met with Eric Schmidt. He blew us off, but we met with his people. We met with Josh Hawley. It was a pop-up for Hawley. We met with his people the day before. Then that went well. So the next day we came back and we met with him. He was very cordial, but his voter record is his voter record is horrible. I mean, he votes against
Well,
stuff.
he does it, and you know what? Let me
It's
just tell you,
trash.
he took all my info. He's been a better champion on radioactive waste than Corey has, number one. But
Wow.
what people in the first congressional district are listening to Josh Hawley? Do you hear what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so I could be mad at him for just erasing a black woman who has been the champion for this issue for the last 15 years. But because I don't want to be selfish, I'm glad that he's moved things forward.
Right.
But our own congressperson who looks like us is not able to garner support and articulate the issues before Congress as she should.
Right.
And that's just one of the things that I found. And I can pick on Eric Schmidt because I served with him in the Senate.
Oh, that man
in the
is-
Missouri Senate.
Yeah, it was a negative experience, and I did not like it at all. And the thing that threw me off with Bush and her people, she completely blew us off. We didn't even meet with her staff. At least with Smith and his staff, it was some 20-year-old kid. He had no patience. You could see it on his face, but at least he was there. I left the meeting because it was a sham, but at least he was there. Corey knew we were coming. Wasn't there. Her office was closed, and her staff was gone. So that kind of threw me off. And then I talked with my wife, and there's things for education here locally that she has voted against.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And when it comes for legislation that Biden is trying to put forth, she has voted against. Like I don't really get it. I don't get it. So I've definitely fallen out of favor with her. I don't see how she can.
A lot
lead
of
us
people
forward.
have said the same thing when
Right.
when I was at the Clayton Hadley Township meeting. There was a Black Mirror, Maplewoods, Richmond Heights, I forgot, but he was like, I've been calling her office and she doesn't respond.
Right.
Like it
Right.
goes back to the basics, and that's why on my website, Maria for Missouri, FOR for Missouri,
There you go.
my first thing that I have on there for issues is constituency services.
There it is.
Because that's 50% of the job. Now, you may not agree with a person, but they want to know at least you understand their issue.
Right.
And if I found that if there is a little space where I can make a difference with an amendment, or I can talk to some of the sponsors of a bill to put in something, I will do that, and I have done that.
Right.
But not having a person who's part of a clique prior to being, I don't doubt her being a Democrat, but an effective Democrat, I'm not seeing that at all.
Exactly. One thing you asked me yesterday that was that I said don't ask. I'm not going to answer now. I want to answer on the show. I love that. You got a great smile, by the way.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Why I did not like Wesley once he got in that position. What turned me off on him was this simple thing of this. You ran on a platform of, I'm going to prosecute Darren Wilson. I'm not Bob McCullum. I'm going to prosecute pigs who kill us. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put these law enforcement officers who hurt us or who are corrupt. I'm going to call them out and I'm going to have them fired and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm not Bob McCullum. I'm going to get Darren Wilson. My man got in the office and did none of that. He absolutely did. He did none of that. He did the complete opposite of what he said he would do. You heard a lot about him when he was, like you said earlier, Riverview prosecuting attorney, when he was trying to get Bob's spot. But it wasn't like he was trying to get it. They had it groomed for him to have it because they knew he wasn't going to do anything. And you saw him so much. As a typical politician, you saw him so much running in this neighborhood and that neighborhood and da-da-da. And once he got in, he didn't do a goddamn thing.
Well, let me tell you the irony of all of this, and I do want to go backwards and say that there are some good police officers in St. Louis County.
Oh, yes, there are.
And it's only a handful or less of cops who make the entire institution, a negative, give the police department a negative light, right? And I can tell you that, for good, I told you about the podcast, and we've been investigating the murder of Darren Seals, who was a prominent activist.
Give the name for it, because this podcast is amazing, y'all. Oh my goodness.
After the uprising, we're getting really good reviews.
Oh, yes, you are. It is excellent.
And it's season 2. Season 1 is getting a lot of downloads as well. In our first 30 days, or in our first 2 weeks after our release, we hit our mile marker for 30 days in 2 weeks. And
what does that mean?
It means that we wanted to have a certain number of downloads within 30 days.
And you hit that.
And we hit that in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so people are really enjoying it, but they're dismayed at the fact that Wesley Bell has not done his job. So case in point, Detective Adams, Justin Adams in St. Louis County, did a miraculous job, a hero's job when it came to investigating, because the entire community was like, oh, you guys aren't going to investigate Darren's murder.
Exactly.
You guys are, anti-black people. That's what the feeling was.
And I have to say this, I don't mean to cut you off. Darren Seals, a.k.a. D-Boy, Dope Boy, a.k.a. King Seals, to me, I knew this young man. I worked with this young man. I saw him in Ferguson. I saw him on Twitter. I knew this brother. I was happy to see what he was doing because I wanted to help. And this season two of the season 2 of
After the Uprising
is about Darren Seals' murder. Hold on, I think we may have a call. Hold on one
Call
second.
from Learn Something Podcast with Damon Hill.
Hanley Hills.
Looks like Damon Hill. Is that Coach Damon? Is that you, bruh?
I'm sitting in my hot tub.
Say
yes,
what?
it is. I'm sitting in my hot tub getting some therapy.
Okay, right on. We have a short amount of time for show left, so jump your question. And man, the question better not be what you just put on my IG. Go Georgia State versus Georgia. Like, come on, bro. You see what we talking about?
No. Georgia State versus Georgia Southern.
All right, nobody cares.
Maria knows that's a very huge rivalry.
Is it Miss Nadal?
It probably is.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. You see what we're talking about. Can you read the room? You got a political question? You got a question? Are you gonna go vote August 6th for Miss Nadal? Okay, crickets. Hello?
Of course, I'm going to vote.
There you
My
go.
question to Maria would be, what would you say would be the most telling issue of Project 2025 that people need to look out for?
There you go.
Oh, all of it. All of it.
Right
My
on, Coach.
goodness. I mean, let's start with women's reproductive freedoms,
Oh, God,
a
yes.
woman's ability to divorce, her husband, education, making sure that they don't want us to have black education,
Oh, yeah.
black history in schools. All of it is detrimental.
The entire
I
thing.
mean, just looking at the cliff notes of the 900-page document, every single bullet point. Somebody asked me that on Twitter. They were like, "Well, how is it going to affect you?" And my head went around like in 3 different loops, trying to be like, "How does it affect me?" One, I'm a woman and I'm black.
There you go. There
Two,
you
I
go.
care about the next generation. I care about my independence because I don't want someone else telling me what I can do with my body and what can I do for my own peace of mind. Another offensive part of it is that, they want to go into a society where the president becomes a king. That's
There it
not
is.
that's not
There it
why
is.
this country was
They
established.
want to abolish the FBI.
You know,
Have a mounted
the
officers
EPA, they
on,
want
on
they
the
want to
border.
dismantle the EPA. Are you kidding me?
Oh my! Charges for weather.
They want to get rid of the education department.
It's so
Are you kidding?
right.
So
Oh.
all of it, 100% of it is bad.
Great question, Coach. You got some props on IG. People love your question. Thank you so much. You got anything else before we get out of here? Before you get out of here?
No, I just want to thank Maria for coming by and see y'all next week.
Hey, we look forward to having you back on next week, Coach. Get better. Right on, bro.
All right.
That's Coach Damon, co-host of High Off the Glass. That's my brother right there. So
right.
yeah, I'm so glad he called in. That was a great question. So it's just Bell to me has never seemed legit, and he's showing it. And I'm so glad that that you're actually running. My only other question is, what took so long?
It was the podcast. So I actually thought I'd never be running for office. I did my time.
Right.
When I sent out my last official communication to the district that I represented, I said I look forward to seeing everyone at the gas station, at the grocery store, at Goodwill.
Be a regular citizen with y'all.
Walking around the park, see you at the bar.
Right.
I was like, I put in my 20 years,
Yeah.
And then we were working with a journalist who investigated Darren Seal's murder and couldn't do anything more with the information that he had, and he gave it to us. All these roads kept leading to Wesley Bell, not doing anything. So the person who was caught, getting back to the story, the person who was caught for killing Darren Seals, and there are multiple people, walked out of the jail. The police report is 200 pages. Walked out of jail, committed multiple crimes after the fact, and it was walking on the street for 2 years. So, and the other person who is also suggested to be a murderer.
Is that Perez?
No, that's another issue though.
Yeah.
Not related to Darren Seals,
Okay.
but Perez Reed was in jail for lighting his family's house on fire.
Yeah.
His family's house is right off of Canfield.
Okay.
And where there's a Corey Bush sign in their house right
Oh,
now.
fudge.
I was like, oh my goodness, do you guys know that their relative is a serial killer? But
Wait,
in
you
any
say
case-
her relative?
No, where the sign is.
Exactly.
Anyway, it was
Right.
an interesting point. But he was in jail for lighting his family's garage on fire.
Right.
McCullough had him in there.
Yep.
And then what happened from that point is Wesley let him out. He went on to kill 7 people in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and in Kansas.
And let me guess, he's represented by Scott Rosenblum?
No, actually, another one starts with a B, but they're all contributors.
Right.
So here's the other thing.
See, why would he?
All of these people who are murderers and all these other criminals, they do hire the Jason Rosenblums. They do hire the Travis Nobles. And you know what you see in the campaign report? You see multiple contributions around cases to Wesley Bell.
Right.
Either his state campaign, but now you see it in his FEC reports.
Wow.
So he's
FEC reports are what?
the Federal Elections Commission. So these defense attorneys are contributing to Wesley, and what he does is either not prosecute them at all, set it up where he doesn't show up at all, and then the murder case is dismissed. And so now you have all these murderers who are walking out in the street. I mean, Jalen Jefferson, who killed my little cousin.
There you go. I'm so
He's
sorry. I
another
heard.
one. He killed at 9 years old the first time. He killed at 14 years old. Wesley Bell let him out for that murder that he committed when he was, 15 years old.
Goodness.
And then he went on, 3 weeks after he got out, killed my little cousin.
I heard about that, of course, in season 2 of After the Uprising. I was deeply saddened by that. I knew this had something, had a local personal tie-in with you, and I'm so sorry that because of his negligence, you had to lose a family member.
Well,
I'm so sorry
before
about
I
that.
ran for office, I called ISIS's father and I
Right.
asked for his blessings.
Right.
You know, because they wanted to handle Wesley the way they wanted to, which is not political.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I had to defer to the family.
Right.
And then I called my cousin Atif and I said, I want to have your blessings to run for Congress
Right.
because I'm going to do things my way this time.
Exactly.
And I'm talking about it all.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the reason why I got into this race so late is because we had been uncovering so many issues with Wesley's office, not following up with murderers, not prosecuting murderers,
Right.
having failures to prosecute murderers, so the guy who ended up killing Darren Seals, 2 years after he was supposed to still be in jail, he was murdered. Those people are out of jail.
Jeez.
3 people were involved in his murder.
Dear God.
97-page police report, and Wesley never prosecuted them. Never. So those 3 are so I can count on my hand at least 8 murderers
Right.
that are out on the street right now
Right.
who have killed multiple times.
Oh my God! I am, Miss Nadal. I am so happy that you are in this race. Maria Chappelle-Nadal has literally earned our vote from 20 years of service, being a state representative in Jeff City, actually getting stuff done for the city of St. Louis and for the county of St. Louis. This woman deserves our vote because you have someone in there that is literal trash, that cannot even be a prosecuting attorney, let alone a congressperson. And then you have someone else that's been there and hasn't done anything. Like, legit hasn't done anything. Miss Maria, I have to wrap. You about to jump on? You about to do your show, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Nate about to do his. Nate, what's the name of your show coming up next?
Broken Knob Society.
Broken Knob Society with Nate. Nate, Della, tell me the last name.
Nate De Niro.
Na-
Russell Gang.
Nate De Niro, this cat is, he in my city, my music staple. He is coming up next. Miss Nadal, we have to do this again.
All right,
I
I'm
am
here.
sorry, we only have an hour today.
Okay.
We have to wrap. But so August 6th, everyone get out to your polling places. Also, you can go to, St. Louis Board of Elections, St. Louis County Board of Elections. You can find specifically where you can go vote. Vote for this sister because she needs your vote. Now, with this primary on the 6th, do you have to have enough votes to stay in it? How does that work exactly?
Yeah, you have to get a majority.
Okay.
You know, if it's only 2 people, it's 50 plus for 1. But because there are 4 people in the race, just a majority.
Okay.
And because it's a Democratic district, you don't really have a November race, even though it's on paper.
So wait. So you're saying that?
Because no Republican would ever win this district.
Right.
So, there's a Republican who's running, but he's
Yeah.
not going to win.
It's true. But with this primary,
It's everything.
It's everything. So we won't have another election in November to finalize?
You will have another election.
Okay,
in
that's what I
November,
thought.
Yes.
August, go ahead, Nate. August 6th. There it is, August 6th. You got you, bro. August 6th is the primary election here in St. Louis City, St. Louis County. Get out to vote, y'all.
Maria Chappelle-Nadal.
There it is. Maria Chappelle-Nadal. This sister needs our vote because guess what? She cares about us. She's working for us. She's empathetic, and she's been here for us for the last 20-some years. The woman has done the work. Sister, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't wait for you to come back.
Thank you.
Please come back on the show. Yo, this is O.T.G Great. This was a fun way to come back to the show. It has been a minute. I got to go. I will be back next week. We're going to have more show for y'all. And, yeah, it's an election year, so get ready for these politics like I told y'all back in January. We going hard with it. All right, O.T.G Great. Miss Nadal, where can they find you at real quick?
Maria 4, the number 4, Missouri, Missouri, on X, Twitter, and my website is mariaformissouri.com.
There you go. Check her out on Twitter, y'all. She is an amazing follow and a lot of good information.
All right.
For real.
All the juice.
Yes, ma'am. Yo, this is O.T.G Great. Y'all know where to find me. O-T-H-A Great. Twitter, Facebook, and High Off the Glass on IG. Keep smoking, keep hooping. Vote August 6th. We out.